Um, Hi. So this video is a little bit different than the kind of stuff that I usually put out, but I have been really wanting to make a video with my friend Shelby for a really long time, and I finally convinced her to sit down and make it with me. Shelby has a mystery illness, and no doctor has ever been able to help her. She is always sick, she's always in pain, and it's so hard to just watch her suffer all the time because she's truly like one of my best friends and one of the nicest, biggest hearted people I've ever met in my life. She's the main reason I keep coming back to North Carolina. She's just the most generous, loving person I've ever met, and it kills me to see her suffering all the time. So I wanted her to make this video with me so she could kind of explain her story, and maybe by getting it out there we can find somebody who has some sort of answer or can help her in any way. I figure I have this platform here on YouTube and I would love to use it to help her. And I also want to apologize, the sound quality in this video is not great. There was a lawnmower going for a little bit when we first started, and then the Ollie! And then the wind was kind of loud, so I'm really sorry about that. We were gonna refilm it, but Shelby ended up in the hospital the day we were gonna refilm, and she's still in the hospital, so we didn't get a chance to refilm it. Anyways, this is her story, and if you stick around and listen to it, thank you. Yeah, it's already recording, but don't let it scare you.
We're starting right now. Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Shelby.
I'm sorry about the noise. Freaking lawnmower Larry in the background won't shut up. Anyways, the whole point of this video is I wanted to force Shelby to come on here to tell her story a little bit. A lot of the reason that we met was because we were both chronically ill, and I think you started following me, I don't know, a long time ago before we actually met. Then when I came down to Asheville, you said let's hang out, and we both had like chronic illness in common, and we both had dreads at the time, so we kind of looked the same, so we were like, oh, friends. We became best friends like almost instantly.
I don't even know, where do I start? From the beginning?
Yeah, so I guess how did your illness start? Because I know you've said it was kind of like an overnight thing, it just, you woke up and you were sick.
Yeah, so March 23rd, 2018, I was full-time traveling all the time. I was living in a like 1970s van that broke down all the time. I never left the country, but I was living in California, Colorado, working on different ski resorts, just kind of bouncing around. And then I came back to Asheville just because for some reason anytime in between my travels I always just kind of land back here. It feels like home to me. So it was probably my third time coming back to Asheville. I left Colorado after working on a ski resort there. I was working 15 hours a day as a counselor, then going to the gym, then hanging out with my friends, super active, super healthy. Then March 23rd, I went to Alabama for my friend's wedding. And so that morning I woke up after we had drinking a lot of champagne and did all the wedding stuff, so I thought it was just a hangover, and it obviously wasn't. I tried to sleep it off. It was so much worse than the next day. I literally couldn't function. I couldn't stand up without, hello Ollie, without my heart rate going to like 200. I'd have to immediately lay down, and so I knew it wasn't a hangover. Then I went to urgent care. I think that's the first place I went, just because I didn't think it was that serious. I thought maybe I was just sick with like a stomach bug or something, because I couldn't quit throwing up either. When I got there, I don't know really what happened because I kind of blacked out, but the next thing I know is I'm in an ambulance, so I guess they called and got an ambulance to come get me from there and took me to a hospital. That's where they said that I had POTS, which is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which pretty much just means that your heart is gonna just be racing all the time. I was like, okay, I looked it up. I was like, that seems kind of, I mean, a little like what I have, like it's a symptom, but I knew that there was something bigger the whole time in the back of my head, and it was just hard to get anyone to believe me especially like because I'm a woman and I have dreads, and anytime I go into a hospital, I think they think that I'm drug seeking, even though I won't even take an Advil. Stephi's the same as me. So after that, because like I said, I was in town for my friend's wedding, which was in Alabama. I had to come back to Asheville, and because that's where I was living, I started everything was getting worse and worse and worse. I couldn't see straight anymore. I couldn't think right anymore. My head was hurting 24/7. Like, I would try to go to the bathroom and like I couldn't think of, like, I know I'm walking through a door, but my brain like couldn't come up with the word door. Like, it was just like everything shut off, and I knew like just deep down this is really, really bad. Like, something is just really bad. So I went to the hospital in Asheville like probably 4 nights in a row before anyone took me serious. Even still, when I got in the hospital, they're like, yeah, you have POTS, we know that. And I was like, no, it's something way worse than that. Like, it's my brain, it's something with my brain. And they were like, yeah, you're probably just depressed, or like you have anxiety. That's the big thing. You have anxiety and you're depressed. And like I said, at the time I had just became a counselor, and I had went to school for 6 years. Obviously, I know about depression and anxiety. I was working every day with like the youth that deals with those issues, and so that was not what was happening. That's what started the whole journey of me just deciding that I'm gonna have to bounce around everywhere until somebody decides that they're finally gonna listen. Hello, lawnmower lady, here he goes again. And now he's dragging it up the hill backwards.
I don't even think he's doing
At this point,
I
think it's for entertainment purposes. He's trying to see what we're doing. He's getting stuck or something. I don't know. Okay. We packed up and moved back to Alabama, where they had bigger hospitals, which is where I'm from. And the cycle was the same. I was going to the hospital every night. I was literally screaming in pain every night. I could not leave my bed. There was no more walking. I was wheelchair bound. I was bed bound. I literally laid on a mattress in the floor of my room for probably 2.5 years straight, besides when I would go to the hospital. And I joined every group I could. I traveled wherever I could, anytime that I had any money to try another hospital. So we went to Vanderbilt, we went to Tennessee, we went to California, literally anywhere to find answers, and it just wasn't happening. So I kept on joining groups and more groups and more groups. And finally I was in this group, POTS patients pretending they're doctors is what it was. It was just full of all of these parents that were advocating for their kids because they knew that like POTS is just a symptom and you have something way bigger. And everybody was talking way over my head. It was all like all these scientific terms I knew nothing about, but it was this group of parents who were just like fully invested in trying to find answers for their kids, which is something I didn't have. Like, my parents at the time, I don't even know, really believed me. Most people didn't, because they were just like, you seem like, I don't know, like, how did that happen overnight? That's kind of the whole point of why I thought it was so crazy. When I joined that group, this lady named Sharon, who lives in California, reached out to me, and she was like, can I call you tonight? At the time, like, I could hardly talk to anyone. I think I went 2.5 years without letting a single friend come to my house, just because I was so sick and just like so embarrassed, and I just couldn't even talk anymore. Like, my brain couldn't comprehend. It was like I was living in a dream, and I kept just saying that, like, everything feels fake, nothing feels real. Like, when people would come over, I would just like have to pretend. It was like I was floating all the time. I would like look at people and be like, how are you normal? And I'm like, it just was a disconnect. So she was like, can I call you tonight? And I was like, no, I don't talk on the phone. And she was like, please, like, I need you to call me. And so my mom made me call her, and she was like, how about I just come pick you up and you fly to California and we'll get you in with one of the best doctors. Like I said, at the time, I wouldn't even let my friends see me. So like, letting a complete stranger come and get me was probably one of the biggest risks that I've ever taken at the time. I was so sick I could hardly walk. And she was like, well, you don't have to fly here by yourself. She flew to Birmingham to get me, and then we met for like 5 seconds while I was checking in. I was having the worst anxiety, but at that point I didn't care. I was like, anything that can give me answers or any quality of life back would be phenomenal. I gotta have a sip of my drink now.
No, it's a hard story to tell.
Yeah, I was gonna do it and not cry, but it might happen.
Oh. It's okay if you cry. You're allowed to have emotions.
Anyways, I got on the plane with her, and I didn't know anything about her or anything about where I was going. And I asked her, like, I was like, is there like a pool close by? Because at the time, the only thing that I could do was like get in the pool, and that would help a little bit, which still is the case. And she was like, yeah, there's a pool close by, but I was like, I'll sleep on a cot, like, I don't care. Like, I really did not care. I was like, I'll sleep on your living room. She was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. I get there, it's a beautiful house, and there was a pool and a hot tub, and they had me all set up in this room, and it still feels like a fever dream when I even try to imagine that somebody was that nice and took me in, not knowing anything about me. She got me in with one of the best doctors that deals with these things, and he finally was the first one to believe me. And he was like, we need to do a spinal tap, which I had 2 before, and they went horribly wrong. I needed blood patches after that, and then we thought I had a spinal leak again, and then they missed a lot of time. It was just tragic anytime I had one, which, I mean, thinking about getting a spinal tap, period, it's a needle this big that goes into your spine, and you're wide awake. They don't sedate you at all.
That's so scary.
It was the most tragic thing ever. So when he said I needed another one, I was like, I mean, this is just gonna be awful, but I have to do it because I trusted this guy and he believed me. So we did it. That's when they found that I have 23 oligoclonal bands, that's what they're called, in my spinal fluid, which is pretty much a measure of inflammation. For reference, people with MS, to be diagnosed with MS, you only have to have 2, and I have that many, so it's pretty crazy. And then we did all the MRIs. I had a lesion on my brain, and still, he like had
a bug in your hair. Sorry.
So yeah, that happened, and then I'm still in a research trial in his lab where he has my spinal fluid because he took an extra vial. I was like, just do whatever you need so I never have to do this again. He just put it through every test under the sun, and all he could come up with was that I had a virus that night, and since nobody believed me for 2.5 years until I got to him, it took over my body, spread to my brain, and now I have encephalitis, which is swelling of your brain. So still, after all that, even though he is one of the top, it's called post-viral encephalitis, and that's the only kind of answer that I've ever heard or gotten. And it's still not an answer because it still doesn't lead to treatment. So I'm desperately trying to find somebody that has heard any kind of story of how someone can get so deathly sick overnight and be so active and traveling and then live in a wheelchair. Yeah. Literally within like 8 hours. So
do you have any idea what caused the virus? Like, was it a tick, like Lyme disease type of thing?
So that's another theory that I'm still battling with. So I'm sure a lot of people are going to be like, have you checked for Lyme disease? Because last time Steffi posted my story, that's what most people said. And so I did do that, went down that whole journey. The problem with Lyme disease is it's not covered by insurance, and so like every treatment or test had to be out of pocket. Even to get an accurate test was $800 for the first one, and like I said, I was working full-time, and then overnight I couldn't work anymore, so I quickly lost everything. My car had to be repoed. I had to leave my house in Asheville. I lost everything. So it was really hard. With Sharon's help and some other people, I was able to get the testing, and I was positive for Lyme and like 5 co-infections. But, and I'm probably gonna get some hate for this, but it's just my opinion. The whole Lyme community is becoming really scammy because doctors know that if you're sick and searching for answers, they can tell you have Lyme disease, and then you're gonna just feed into it and then pay a bunch of money for treatment. And so in the back of my head, I'm still like, yeah, I don't know if that really is what it was, but I did try something called SOT, and it was 1 IV, and they took my blood like 3 weeks before the IV. They had to take like so much of it, and I pretty much was like a science lab rat at that point. Everybody was just like trying anything and everything, and they sent my blood to, I think, Germany, where they created an SOT, which was supposed to be made off of my blood and be re-injected into me, and it was going to stop the replication of Lyme, because once you have Lyme, the life cycle is like every 90 days, and it just keeps on going in your body. So it was supposed to stop that, so eventually it all just dies off. That 1 IV was $5,000, and it did not do anything, not one single thing. I think I felt worse after that, and so I kind of gave up on the whole Lyme thing. And it's still something that I do wonder all the time if I need to dive back into and maybe spend more money, but it's all out of pocket, and so it's just been, I don't know if that's even true. I don't know if I really had it. I don't remember ever getting bit by a tick. I don't remember anything, which is a lot of people's stories, so I don't want to invalidate people that actually do have Lyme disease. I just don't know if that is what happened to me or not.
It's so frustrating, though, to have no answers for something that just happened like that.
I think that's the biggest thing, is like I just want an answer. People in my situation, because I've found like such a big online community, will often say that the biggest thing is like if they just had an answer. Like it would be if somebody told me that I had cancer, or that I hear that so many times. If somebody told me I had cancer, it would be better than what I have. And that sounds so awful to say, but that has such a big support. If you have cancer, then there's marathons, nobody's gonna not believe you because you have cancer. There's fundraising and there's treatments, which no, they don't always work, and it's still just like such an awful disease, which is what, to me, when I hear people say all the time, like, oh, it'd just be better if I had cancer, I'm like, that shows how desperate like the community of people like me are, that are just like silent and not heard or understood. Like if you're comparing it to that, then that's pretty serious, but it's just like we're silenced and nobody really believes you because you don't look sick, and like, how did that happen? And you just must be depressed. And so it's just, we just want an answer, because an answer to me, no matter how serious it was, like they could tell me, oh, you have like a year to live, but here's what you have, would be better than just living in the unknown, because every day I'm just like constantly trying to figure it out, and I don't know if it's ever going to happen, and that's kind of scary. So
what are your symptoms like on a day-to-day basis, like these days?
So that's why I'm just going to be truthful here. I'm still pretty much bedbound, except for now I self-medicate and drink. So I stay in bed every day until about like 1 o'clock, because I don't want to drink earlier than that, even though 1 o'clock is still really early. For the first 3 years, I didn't have one single sip of alcohol, obviously. I didn't do anything. I was completely sober. And then finally I was at the point, I'm just gonna be raw here, and I was looking up like assisted suicide, and I was joining like all these groups, and people were like on the same side of it, like, yeah, we understand, like when your quality of life is that bad, you shouldn't, it's like, why do we make our pets, we don't make them go through it, like a human shouldn't either. If it's, your quality of life is so bad that you're laying on a mattress on the floor every day for almost 3 years like I was, then it's just, you know, something that is a hard decision. But my partner at the time had seen the worst of it, and at one point she just was like, if that's what you want to do, you know, like I understand how bad it is. So now, after like almost 3 years, I decided I'm just gonna try to drink and see what happens, because I didn't care anymore at that point. I had already completely given up. It helped, and that's why y'all can see me not look sick and be funny Shelby, laughing, happy, haha, but it's because I have to drink, which is, I don't want to do that, obviously. I want to have real help and not self-medicate every day with something that's so toxic to my body. But pretty much I lay in bed every day till 1 o'clock, and then I crawl to the shower and I sit in the bottom of the shower. I don't stand in the shower still. And then I start drinking, and my body can like start to move a little bit after that. But up until then, I'm laying in bed the whole morning with at least 5 ice packs, 1 behind my neck, 1 on my head, 1 on my chest, because my chest pain is so severe. I just have to lay there and suffer all day. And my symptoms, this is hard to talk about.
It's okay, you're doing really good.
Everything burns all the time still, so like they say neuropathy, but I don't even know really if that's how it really explains it, but it feels like poison is just pumping through my veins all the time, and so my hands and feet are mainly on fire a lot.
Okay. You can take a deep breath if you need to.
It's hard.
I know it is, but you're doing so good.
Okay, but we have to cut this part out.
It's hard to talk about, but you know, you've got so many people that are gonna support you and want to try to help you.
I thought I was not gonna cry, and now it's just
okay.
Okay. Do I have makeup everywhere?
No.
Wow, beautiful.
Ollie brought you a present.
Oh,
Oh, just kidding. He's keeping it.
well, I just wanted to show you it. No, I forgot where I left off.
You're talking about symptoms.
Oh, yeah.
Your whole body's burning.
Yeah, and most of the time it feels like my brain is getting shocked a lot. It'll happen really quickly, so it's like almost like lightning I can compare it to. I think the symptoms is the hardest part to explain, because when I say that, I just sound crazy. When I talk to doctors, I'm like, my whole body feels like every vein is being pumped with poison and everything just hurts. And they're like, it feels like you're being pumped with poison. I'm like, I don't know how else to explain it by that. But it's mainly neurological is all that I can express about this condition the most, is that I know that it's something with my brain. So yeah, it feels like it's just getting shocked, and like I'll kind of like go blind for a second, and it'll just feel like electricity is going through my brain. My heart has palpitations all the time. Sometimes my heart rate will go to 200 when I stand. Sometimes it feels like it's just like not even beating, and then all of a sudden it'll just start pounding again. There's just so much. The brain fog is like like disassociating all the time, like I'm not even really here. And that's how it feels all day until I start drinking, which is what I'm doing now. She gives me hope with her story, because I'm just like, science will catch up one day and somebody will be able to figure it out. It's just going to take the right doctor who wants to invest in it and figure out how somebody can go from living such a great life and traveling all over the place. The fact it happened overnight, I think, has got to be the biggest clue that somebody out there will recognize and be like, if it happened that quick, like it happened in 8 hours. I was up the night before, hanging out with my friends, drinking champagne, celebrating, because I was in town, like I said, for my best friend's wedding, and then the next day, just boom, my life was over, and it's never been the same. I'm thankful for how I got to live before, and I think that's largely why I could travel around so much, and like maybe my whole purpose of why I started traveling. At the time I thought it was because I was running from my problems, but now I think, looking back, that it was probably because, I don't know, the universe or whoever knew that this was going to happen, so I got to live large and free and do whatever I wanted while I could, because now traveling is a lot different and a lot harder, and it's not something I can just freely do. And I think people take that for granted, like even getting on a plane or going to job every day. People complain like, oh, I hate my job, I hate this, it's so horrible, but I want a job so bad. I want to be able to, you know, wake up and go to a 9 to 5 as horrible as that sounds, and people are like, 9 to 5s, who wants that? And that's something I never wanted before. I just thought I'd live my life traveling forever. But now I'm just like, I would take any job if my body would allow it. Would be amazing. So it's important for people to just be grateful for, if you have your health, you have everything. Health is wealth. That's what people say, and it's the most true statement ever.
True.
And you never know until you know, which is...
It is kind of beautiful in some ways. Like, not being sick, because being sick sucks, but the perspective it gives you
makes
is
you
really
change
valuable.
everything about your life, literally. The way you think about everything. Like, I'll just see people like grocery shopping or doing any little thing, and I'm like, I just wish that I could just wake some people up and be like, you are so lucky.
Right?
Which I know, like, I said this to my friend yesterday, but everyone has their shit, and that's kind of what people say, but some shit stinks worse than other shit, and that's just a fact of it. And I just want to like shake people sometimes and be like, if you can wake up every day and just feel good and be able to do things, move your body, go to the gym, do it, take advantage of it, travel while you can, do things that make you uncomfortable. Put yourselves in situations that are scary, because you never know. Like Steffi she was living that life because she did know that she was sick the whole time. And
it was hard though. When I was traveling and I was at my sickest, I almost died so many times. But I was like the type that was like, no, I'm gonna live no matter what. I want to live my life to the fullest. And
exactly, and that's because you knew, like, you have to do that. But also,
it's really hard to travel when you're sick or do anything. It was hard for me to even just walk upstairs with my condition.
Exactly. And when I was my sickest, there was no walking upstairs. I didn't have, my bed was on the ground. I was trying everything. I think that's another thing that people were asking, like, what have you tried? I have tried lots of things. The diet fads, the yoga, you're gonna be healed. How many times have you heard that? You can just heal it if you do yoga and eat this diet or cut this out. But when you're chronically ill and it's something that is just only you know how serious it is, you can try that, but we both know it's not gonna work. It's just...
Well, I totally know, because when I was sick, people would always comment, well, have you tried keto?
Yeah, exactly.
Have you tried doing ayahuasca? Or like, there's just a whole spectrum of things that people will be like, well, maybe if you try this, that'll fix you. And those people, I feel like, come from a very privileged place of health where they don't really understand what chronic illness is like. I wanted to ask you, do people ever just accuse you of like being an alcoholic, or say that your drinking causes your illness? That's probably very frustrating.
I wanted to, and that's another thing that I wanted to just mainly get on here, not mainly for, but I did want to talk about this a lot, because I was sober for the whole first 3 years of it, living in a hospital. And now people see me drinking and they're like, oh, well, that's why you're sick. And this whole thing came out with like my friends from high school, and they were just like talking like, oh, she's not really sick, she's just an alcoholic. And that's how I cope with it. That's not my problem. And I'm not saying that anyone should do this, and I know that it's not healthy. It's probably completely counterproductive to like my brain inflammation, but I'm never going to judge somebody with how they deal with their illness. And some people take pain pills. I won't even take an Advil. So this is just what I have done temporarily. And I'm going to say temporarily because I hope that it is very temporary. And when I find an actual answer, if I was sick because I was drinking, I couldn't have been sick 3 years while I was sober. So, yeah.
But also, I feel like a lot of people that criticize maybe have never dealt with chronic pain and how awful it is.
And they just don't have a clue. And it's like addicts that, the same thing. They're like an emotional pain. It's all like people that say stuff like that. Well, obviously you clearly have not dealt with it, so you don't know like what you'll be willing to try just to not feel that way. And I got to the point that I would do anything, and if this is what I have to do for now, that's it. But
you just want to be able to like function even
a
if
little
it's just
bit,
a little
like
bit.
even be able to go to a restaurant. I couldn't do anything like that. Going to a grocery store, I couldn't do anything. And so, yeah, I think that's a big part of it. People will be quick to judge, but the ones that are judging have not ever gone through anything as serious as I have. And I feel like I'm not explaining the gratitude, like the depth of how sick I am, because it's too hard to put into words. But if you're someone that's judging someone for how they're dealing with something, you haven't been through it, clearly.
Yeah.
So it's just makes no sense. Ollie's sniffing my Jeep right now. He likes it because we have lots of animals at our house.
But I'm also gonna link your GoFundMe in the description of this video so people can read your story. It's all written out on there, and they can donate if they want to.
Actual details from the beginning, and like I updated it the whole time. Anytime I tried treatments, it's all on there, and it won't be so all over the place like this video because it's hard to tell this story, and I didn't want to cry a lot, so I feel like I've just been jumping everywhere. But if you read that story, the beginning tells all the symptoms I had, and then the updates show along the whole last 4 years what I've tried, what I haven't tried, everything like that. And it won't just be so everywhere because I don't know how to do YouTube, and I've been putting off this video for a year now. Stephi's like, make the video, it doesn't matter, make the video. And even today I was just like, no, I don't know how, but we got through it.
You're doing so good.
If anything doesn't come out of this video, mainly I just want other people to find me if they're dealing with what I have dealt with, or if you haven't, or you know somebody, you can offer advice. I don't think that you're alone in anything. I thought so for at least 3 years, that I was the only one that was going through this, but I think there's a lot of silent voices out there who just are silenced because doctors tell them they're not valid and they're depressed and they're just women, and that's just how it happens, and it's not true. And I think closing out, I just would like to say that if a diagnosis or something doesn't sit right with you and you don't think that's what you have, you need to keep on fighting, because if I would have listened to any of the people in the beginning, I could have just been on antidepressants and pain pills and all the medicine that they wanted to give me. At one point I was prescribed over 30 medications, and I would just let them do it so that I didn't have to argue, but I never took a single one. So I think the main thing is, if you know in your head and in your heart that what someone is telling you is not right, don't let a doctor dictate your life. Keep fighting, and maybe we'll end up like Steffi with a cure and science will catch up.
Maybe.
That's the goal. We love you.